along with psychiatrist at Jupiter Hospital.
For some reason, it's
Thank you.
echoing.
Thank you all for joining our 27th session at UMANG today. So a few words about UMANG for those who've joined us for the first time. See, UMANG is basically a platform by the doctors, of the doctors, and for the doctors. It's the brainchild of Dr. Gauri Saroj, whose dedication and initiation, along with a lot of contribution from like-minded doctors, helped create this platform, where our main aim and focus was to, increase learning and evolving together. And the focus was to expand our horizon of learning beyond medicine, more on self-care, where we cover all the topics on a weekly basis from every Friday of last month from 9 to 10 p.m. So basically, these topics involve all the dimensions of our life, the physical, mental, emotional. We cover a lot of topics like secret of happiness, joy of being, burnout, medical negligence, passion. So it's really amazing. These topics which we can, discuss among ourselves, and it's very common to all our medical fraternity. Excuse me. So these videos are uploaded on platforms like YouTube and Facebook, which whoever is interested can see them later on. So our today's topic is charting a path to freedom, retirement, the new beginning. So why this topic today? Basically, financial literacy is something which we are not really taught in our medical school or even otherwise. And unlike other professionals, including the ITs who start their career very early in life, they already start planning their retirement by the age of 40 or 50. But we doctors usually start late our careers because of our extensive medicine training and our training period and education. So we have relatively less time to either save or invest the money. In fact, most of the doctors don't even achieve their peak earning period until they are 40 to 50 years of age. So that leaves us with very little time to really invest and save. So financial planning and financial security is a very important aspect which we need to educate ourselves about. And most of the doctors, I believe, are really naive in this area because throughout our lives, we are so, busy working and, concentrating on our medicines and our hospital environment that we really don't give much of importance or even have much of knowledge about finances in general. And retirement planning or so-called financial freedom is a very important aspect because doing it early in life or early in the stages of our career will really help us, devote more time to our other hobbies. We can spend more time with our family and even do some other work for social cause. So let's hear it from our experts today, who are our own colleagues and mentors who walked this path and are here to educate us about it. So I'm privileged to introduce our eminent guest speakers for today. It's Dr. Manoj Chadda. Sir has been my mentor and guide who's not only taught me the art of and science of medicine, but he's also improved my financial literacy. Sir is a consultant endocrinologist at PD Hinduja Hospital, Mahim, and he's the director of Hope and Care Center at Navi Mumbai. Sir has been a DNB endocrinology teacher since 2008. He's been an ex-faculty at endocrine department in KM Hospital and Nair Hospital, respectively. Sir has been the past president of Endocrine Society of India and also the past president of Indian Society for Bone and Mineral Research. And he has numerous publications to his name. So I think Sir's seen it all and, had it all throughout his career. So welcome, Sir, for this session on UMANG. Our next speaker is an equally dynamic and a very liked and among his fraternity, Dr. Rajesh Senani. Sir is a gastroenterologist at Jasloke Hospital, and he's received his fellowship at Royal Melbourne Hospital, Australia. His areas of interest include constipation, reflux, manometry, and motility disorders. So welcome Dr. Rajesh, and I'm really thankful to him because he was really down with a bad viral last week, and he could make it for our session today. Thank you, sir. And so without wasting much time, we'll start the session. So our first question is for Dr. Rajesh. So Dr. Rajesh, what is retirement, or now called as financial freedom? Do doctors ever plan to retire? And what do you think is the right time to plan this phase in our life?
Okay. So let's take, I think it's a very long question. We'll take
a long question. Yeah,
we'll take each. What is retirement? Freedom? And I'm sure people can jut in as they wish. So retirement by definition means leaving one's job and ceasing all work, as you look at the definition. But now, as we were discussing that day with Dr. Chadha, is really retirement, and what we are looking at more is what is financial freedom. So when we say financial freedom, it means that we should have enough money or enough financial resources to pay for our living expenses. It may not be a lot. We don't have to be a billionaire, but you should have enough to pay for your living expenses, and such that you can follow all your life goals and live your life without having a commitment to go to work every day or to earn. So I think that's what, in my opinion, is financial freedom. We can ask Dr. Chadha if he wants to add something on it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'll work when I want to work. And if I don't feel like working, I don't need to work. As probably Kanchan was also mentioning, see, doctors, unlike other specialists, hardly ever retire. Unless you leave the earth or you're disabled, most doctors would like to keep working till the last day. But we should enjoy the work and not work for a living sort of thing.
That's fair. That's correct. So do doctors ever plan to retire? That's the question sir has answered. And what is the right time to plan for this? I think the right time to plan is probably when you're an intern from your first salary itself. I think the first 10 to 15 years of our investment journey has been most interesting, because that's when we made all the mistakes. And it didn't matter that time because we put small amounts in investing, and every time the investment was towards a certain goal. Some of them were immediate goals and some of them were probably long-term goals. So maybe the money we put into the PPF was more a longer term goal, because that's all we understood 25, 30 years ago. And other small fixed deposits, or I remember as an intern, we used to invest in a stock market, and we used to buy a share, and we used to get delivery after 21 days. So we had to wait for 21 days to see our share certificate. It was such a big journey. So we made a lot of mistakes. I think we lost more money than we ever made. But I think that made us resilient. And the reason we start early is that when you have no money, you have all the time to plan as what you will do when you have money. Because when you have money, you'll be so busy, like most of us, that we don't understand finance at this time. And then we just follow these financial advisors blindly. Dr. Chadha, you want to?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I started my internship at 400 rupees a month. And I still had started a recurring deposit plus the PPF.
Yes.
PPF is like the holy cow. Everyone has to have a PPF account. Yeah, so I agree with you. As we'll go ahead and we'll see what is the magic of these long-term investments. And yes, when you make mistakes, you should learn from your mistakes and put that as payment for course for your financial education.
So coming more to when is the right time to plan. So somewhere when we started getting a steady income, a substantial income, where we realized that, okay, I have surplus and now what do I do? Maybe in the early part of the practice. I think that's the first time when I got my financial plan made by a financial advisor. And the reason was, he asked, what are your goals? What do you expect to do in the next 5 years? What do you expect to do in the next 20 years? When you're 30, your goals are different. And I realized that not 10 years, within 5 years, the goals I had told him were completely outdated. Because at 30, I was very happy with a Fiat or a Maruti. At 35, I didn't want that. At 30, I was happy to go for a local holiday. Even Lonavala or Goa was great. At 35, I was aspiring to do more. So your expenses go up, your earnings go up. So I actually redid a financial, and means I think I did my first at age 35, and then I met a financial planner again at age 40 to revise my goals, because my goals had completely changed and my income had gone crazy. Because, you know, as a government, when you're working in a government hospital, you're earning nothing, and then suddenly you're into private practice, you have a lot more surplus money, and then suddenly you have to handle it. So I think not only doing it once, but you have to do it at different phases of your life, because your financial goals, maybe you are married, not married, now you have one child, now you have 3 children. The whole goal changes.
Thank you. That was brilliant. I think it was really an eye-opener. because when we say that you start right from your internship, so I don't think most of us really do that, or even during our residency. So I think for all the young students here and who are really doing their residency and post graduation, this is really a good input for them, where they can start planning right from their residency days and not really wait till they start their practice.
Absolutely.
So we can
So
move
you
to
were
the
saying
next question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go to the next question.
So the next question is for you, Dr. Chadda. So
Yeah.
how do we plan for financial freedom? Are there any short-term and long-term objectives that we need to consider?
So I think Rajesh has set the ball rolling in the sense, if you want to go on a journey, you need to plan first. You just can't say, okay, I'll sit in my car and then we'll see what happens on the way. And as you very rightly said, you need to have short-term goals. And when you are 30 or when you're 35 or when you're 40, your short-term goals may change. But they should be well defined because your allotment of funds for that is going to be totally different from a medium term. You got married, you're looking at children, education, a new house, your vacation, and then later on, children are going to get educated, go abroad or go to university. And then you have longer term goals in regards their marriage, your retirement corpus and things like that. So what we really define is something which is going to happen in the next 2 years, that's short term. Something that is between 3 and 5 years is medium term. And anything more than that, 5 or some people may say 7 also, is long term. The reason you need to define these goals according to term is because for every goal, you need a separate basket or a separate investment. You can't say that I'll put all the eggs into one basket and then I'll keep taking when I need. No, they have to be separate because they have to be treated separately. You've been muted, I think.
Kanchan, do you want to move to the next question?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I think that really made a lot of sense, and we really need to work our goals, as you said, short term, medium term, and long term.
Kanchan, what I would like to clarify here is, one is goals that you're going to look at, and second thing which we don't do is we earn, but we don't keep a record of what we are spending regularly. Because when we talk about corpus and things like that later on, the question that the planner is going to ask you, what is your budgetary expense in this current year? And secondly, they want to, you need to define what is non-negotiable and what is negotiable. I want to buy my SUV. It's negotiable. I mean, if I don't have the money, I can wait for 6 months. But if my child needs to go for education, or we need an EMI that has to be paid, that is not negotiable. You have to have funds. So that part also should be kept in mind while we are planning. So budgeting is equally important.
So if I can just make a point here, normally if you read on these financial websites, they will tell you this 50, 30, 20. 50% of your income is what are your needs, 30% are your wants, and 20% are your savings. It's just a rough thing, but most people have no idea. And many times we forget the 20% saving and we just look at that. So if you have this rough idea, some months it will be either way, you know where to keep your money going.
Yeah, but Rajesh, don't forget about our partner in crime. 1/3 goes to the government.
Yes, I think this should be done after taxes.
Okay.
The next question is for Dr. Rajesh, sir. So how to calculate the amount of corpus you need for planning your retirement? And how good are these retirement corpus calculators? Can we really rely on them when we are planning our corpus fund?
Yes, so I think the retirement planning calculators are reasonably good for the free versions, and there are some paid versions also. But you have to understand is that many times they are not asking us enough questions. They don't tell you of all the expenses that you are thinking of, because if I ask you what are your expenses, you will look at your telephone bill, electricity bill, your rent, your vegetable or whatever your house running expenses, and that's all. There are so many other expenses that we are not looking at. Our holidays, our car, when will you upgrade your car, when will you change your vehicle, when How much do you spend on clothes annually? What do you do for jewelry? What do you do for weddings in the family? What about meals when you eat out? So there are so many other things. So when you usually go to a financial advisor, they have a very detailed questionnaire, and sometimes it can take an hour or two for you to fill up all the different points as to what are your expenses. Because only if you know your true expenses today, you will know what will be your true expenses 25 years down the line. So otherwise, but it's a great place to start. If you want to just budget key, okay, this is my age, this is my expected retirement age, because the calculator is so simple to use, and they ask you how long you're going to live. Nobody knows that. So you put like 75 or 80, and then they ask you how much monthly income do you think you'll require at 65. You and me don't know that, because we don't know our medical illness, we don't know anything. So if you can calculate how much you need today, and then you add the inflation to that 25 years down the line, you will know how much you need 25 years down the line. So I think that's a more true representation, and then it will tell you how much you need to save. But yes, I would go for it as a starting point.
Right. So basically it's our monthly, our annual requirement into the number of years, and
yes,
along with the inflation calculator.
absolutely.
So what I would say, Kanchan, is, the figure X that you're trying to get at should be such, because there is a rule that if you withdraw between 4 and 6% of, so let's say 4% of that corpus, max 6%, and inflation is also around between 5 and 6%, and your return on that corpus would be definitely more than 6%. So then this corpus can go indefinitely. So whether you live till 75 or 95, the corpus will always outlive you. You will not outlive the corpus.
Okay.
So it is that thing. So what Rajesh says, or what generally we look at, is your budget, and then multiply that by 30 times or so to get some sort of a corpus. I look at it backwards, that if I need, say, 1 lakh a month today, then 20 years down the line, at about 6% inflation, we may need about double that, 2 lakhs or so. And then if I need to get 24 lakhs a month, and I'm withdrawing 4% from that X, so that would work out about 6 crores. So this gives you a approximate thing. Once you understood this and you sit with a financial planner and answer all this, because they have a big thing that they'll work on, and then the computer gives you a sheet that this is what you need to look at. But you need to understand what you're doing and how it works.
Right. So over to you, Prajakta.
Yes. So, sir, the next question is to you, Dr. Chadda. So, how do we allocate funds for our short-term and long-term goals?
So there are two things that you need to work on: your current age and your risk appetite. When you're 35, you're good to take risks, because with the ups and downs, we can get over it. But at 65, you don't want to take risks. You don't want any downs. You want only ups. And as most wise people would say, maybe initially you're looking at return on principle, but as you grow older, it is return off principle. So you don't want to lose your money, even if the return is a measly 5 or 6%, but I don't want to lose money. So anything that is long could be, I think the best place today is equity and equity-based mutual funds. Anything which is short is going to be low risk FDs, liquid funds, things like that. And anything that is in medium term, between 3 and 5 years, could be a sort of a balanced fund, could be a debt fund. I mean, these are terms probably you'll learn more when you read yourself. Today, in 1 hour, we can't get into all these things. But there are certain other rule is that as you grow older, your dependence on the equity and risk fund should go down, and your fixed incomes and your debts fund should go up. Starting from, say, 70-80% of equity, you work towards maybe 40 or 50%. Earlier it used to be 30, but now maybe 40 and 50 is safe. And our PPF always remains the holy cow. As I said, everyone has to do that. But there are other tax schemes which we also keep looking at.
So,
I don't know, Rajesh wants to add a little bit on the...
some people use a formula 100 minus your age.
Yeah.
So they say if you're 30 years old, so 100 minus your age, 70% equity, 30% debt. But I think, like Sir said, now equity is more stabilized in India. I prefer to use the 120 minus the age. So if you're 30, I think you can put 90% in equity and 10% because you have a full 30-year horizon. And like we are somewhere 50. So I would say 120 minus 50, we are okay at about 65, 70% in equity. I think that's what I use in my this.
I would agree on that part, that we can go a little more on equity. And as you grow towards 60, 65, still a 50% exposure to equity is safe.
Yes.
See, good old days, the FIIs used to come into the market at their free will, raise the market, move their money out and drop the market. Drop means really drop. We've seen from last year onwards that they can't do that anymore. I mean, the market goes down a few percentage points, but it's not like 30% or 50% drop. So we don't need to lose sleep on that. But the risk your risk appetite is important, because if there's someone who starts losing sleep because 2% drop in the market, is better out of the market.
True.
So isn't the CNBC channel the most popular channel in all doctors' lounges? It's always on.
Yeah. So that is something you should not use as an education. You can use it for entertainment.
Yes.
Not for your
because nobody discusses their losses. They only talk about their profits.
Exactly. Yeah, even Warren Buffett, who's supposed to be the god of all these things, has a 60% success rate. No one talks about the 40% failure rate, because his success is so great.
That's true.
I think the next question is common to both, and it's a little repetition, but maybe we can elaborate a little more on it. So as we know, there are a variety of instruments available for investments, which we just mentioned about: the mutual funds, the debt funds, the SIPs, the government schemes, and even gold and property. A lot of people love investing in that. So how do you really choose? And if you could please elaborate.
You want me to go first, sir? Okay. So just a little bit on each. I think we doctors are over-invested in property. And at least the house you live in, I personally, well, it is definitely an asset, but it's something in which you have to live till you die. So you can't really count it as an asset which is going to give you a return, because you're never going to rent it out because you're living in it. So usually when we calculate our corpus, retirement corpus, I say remove the house you live in, because that's not giving you any return. So that's something very important to know. And most of us, if you see, our house is our biggest asset on our balance sheet. And that's something which needs to change. Then coming among the other assets, whether we take mutual funds, debt, we have already discussed 100 minus the age or 120 minus the age, you will choose, but we have to decide what mutual funds. So if you should try to select direct mutual funds, because direct mutual funds have the lowest cost ratio. You have to understand that you are paying otherwise almost 1.5 to 2% to your distributor and to your mutual fund agent, who you may have bought a mutual fund 10 years ago. You've never seen the agent again, but every year you are continuing to pay him. And it really doesn't matter when you're 30 or even when you're 40, because if you had 10,000, you were paying him 2%. That is nothing. When you had 1 lakh also, you're paying him 2%. It is nothing. When it becomes 1 crore, then you say, because as Dr. Chadha says, you need to get your 6 or 7 crores. So when you have 1 CR, you're paying him 2 lakhs. Your 2 lakhs per year is going. Remember that per year you're paying that fellow. Then when if you have 5 CR, you are paying 10 lakhs. Are you paying any employee 10 lakhs per year? You're not paying anybody 10 lakhs per year. So that much you're paying to these people, because you are not reading about it and you don't know what to do about it. So that's very important. And that's why either you go for a direct mutual fund, or you can do an ETF. If you know how to buy ETFs, ETFs are exchange traded funds. And if you just buy the simplest ETF, that is the Nifty ETF, its ratio, whatever expense ratio is 0.05%. You know how less is 0.05 compared to 2%? When you look at it over a 25-year period, you would have saved lakhs and lakhs of rupees. So if you don't understand anything, buy the Nifty ETF and sit quiet and don't do anything. Don't listen to anybody. Don't look at the stock market till you retire. And I think you'll at least get 10 to 11% easily. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's well said. I want to re-emphasize what Rajesh has said, that because that friendly neighborhood agent came and filled up the form for you and you signed it and handed it over to him, for the next 25, 30 years, he's going to get 1.5%. No profession, gets this sort of a thing. I mean, we look after patients, we get paid for our services for that day. That's it. He's not going to pay because next 20 years he lives. He's not going to continue to send us a check every month. So direct is the way to go. Just read up. It's no rocket science. There are apps available for it. Every mutual fund website allows you to do direct investments. And if you can spend, say, 8 to 10 hours on this thing, you will save maybe 25, 30 lakhs in the due course of time. And it's not small money.
Wow.
It's a lot. It's just there because they are being paid on the net asset value of your mutual fund, not you bought 1 lakh rupees today, but 10 years down the line, that is worth 10 lakhs. So they are earning 2% of 10 lakhs, not of the 1 lakh you gave him. I try to understand that part. And that's something we don't know. And it took me 10 years to realize that.
I also learned it the hard way.
Only when your portfolio becomes big, you realize that you're paying somebody more than you should be paying them.
And that goes on even if you are losing in a particular year. Please note that. So it's not that they will get only when you are in profit. Even if you're in loss, they will get it.
Oh, okay.
It's a lovely job. I mean, if someone wants an alternate career to their practice, become an agent.
Okay. So what about these government schemes and SIPs? I mean,
okay, before we go to the government schemes, Rajesh talked about property and real estate. What you need for yourself is good. 1987, 1990 were good days for real estate. Your money used to get 2x, 3x, 5x before you said hello also. Today, real estate as an investment is possibly the worst investment that you can do. I mean, that's my personal thought on it, because one is returns are not good. Second is the liquidity is very poor. So if you need it tomorrow, you don't get it. So real estate should be only for your consumption. The other thing that Indians love is gold. And Indians and Chinese, they are the maximum consumers of gold in the world. So let's understand gold as jewelry for utilization is a different story. But gold as investment is very low down, maybe even near the fixed deposits. But everyone will tell you that a certain fixed amount of your corpus, maybe 5 or 10%, should be in gold because it's a hedge against bad times. Tomorrow, country A attacks country B, there's a shortage of oil or there's a shortage of tomatoes, your currencies, your markets may go down, but then gold goes up. So it's a hedge against inflation. So small amount, say 5 or 10% should be in gold. And earlier it used to be physical gold, now it's paper gold. So you can buy gold mutual funds also. The sovereign gold bonds which the government gives you, pretty good.
So the sovereign gold bonds are excellent, and a gold ETF has a lower cost. ETF is an exchange traded fund than a mutual fund, because a mutual fund, again, the moment it's a mutual fund, there is a distributor and somebody else is making money out of you. So an ETF has a lower cost. A sovereign bond is great because the government even pays you 2.5% interest. Whatever the gold price, you will get interest on top of that. So that is unheard of. So like Sir said, I believe that about 5 to 7% of your net holdings should be gold. So in the paper form. And what happens is that once you're going up to your, as your corpus is growing, you have to keep realigning these assets. So you started off with an equity, now your equity is doing very well. So your equity has become 90% and your debt has become 10%. Then you need to, at least once a year, not 5 times a year, but maybe once a year or twice a year, you need to relook and say, is my asset allocation, like Sir said, short term, long term, is it right? So do I need to, increase my debt or decrease my equity, or either way, so that you keep yourself safe? That's very important. You can't say, I'm not going to look at it ever again. You have to look at it.
Yeah, it's not fill it and forget it sort of thing. And before we, go ahead, and if in case I forget later on, while we are talking of goals and funds, one thing we should never forget is an emergency. We all went through that in 2020, and we know what it means to sit at home for 2-3 months. So you need a minimum 6 months expense corpus to be kept in a liquid fund or somewhere where you can get your hands on in case of emergency. It used to be 6 months. Some people even go to 12 months. But 6 months is a reasonable corpus, a liquid fund or a FD, which you can get your hands on in case of emergency. That's a separate basket altogether.
Right. So thank you, sir. That was really great.
Very enlightening. Really.
I know.
Rajesh, have we covered up the
Yes.
other avenue? PPF you mentioned, we said gold, real estate, mutual funds. The E-traded fund, ETFs that he said are very good because there's no rocket science in it. So there are, last week I was hearing a program where the lady was absolutely against these E-funds. She says, what do you think? We are working so much and we do so much to give you all returns. But I think history is different. It will not really bear up with this. So it's not rocket science that even the best equity funds are buying an HDFC or a Reliance or an L&T or an Infosys or a TCS. That even you can do it on your own. You won't go wrong in that.
So these exchange rate traded funds, almost, if you look at it short term, when you compare it 3 and 5 years, some mutual funds may be beating it. But if you look at a 10-year return, the ETFs outshine more than 95% of all mutual funds across all fund houses. So if you have any old newspaper, you go and see a 10-year-old top 5 mutual funds are no more the top 5 now. So all the top 5 funds are for 3 years, and rarely some good ones may be in the top 5 for up to 5 years. But when you look at 10 years, none of the ones which were there 10 years ago are there. So it's only an exchange traded Nifty fund will outperform. So here we are talking long term. We are not talking about what to do with your short term goal of three years. It's a different ball game. You're looking at retirement. So you want your fund to do well for 25 years. And in the US also, the biggest fund is the Vanguard S&P 500, which beats 95% of all other actively managed mutual funds. So it's the same in any country.
The beauty of an index is that the index takes the top companies. So if today XYZ company is top and 5 years down the line, for some reason it goes down, the index will take another company. So your index will keep going up. Whereas if you're in a, equity linked fund, then if that X company goes down, the value of your fund will also go down. And that's what Rajesh is, that 3 years, 5 years consistent is there. But 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it's the index which keeps going up.
Right.
Dr. Rajesh and sir, can you please talk a bit about government schemes, the National Pension Scheme or the Senior Citizen Scheme?
So I think the senior citizen schemes it's like a fixed deposit, but with a better interest rate. It's very secure. So it can be as part of your debt component. And it is great once you retire to keep that 30% or 40% debt, because it's a guaranteed safe scheme. It's not like a bond fund which can default or something like that. So it can be part of your debt scheme. The National Pension NPS scheme, which is now there, is gaining popularity. But the NPS scheme is also ultimately now been allowed to invest in equity. And so the point is, if you feel that you are disciplined enough to keep putting in the ETFs yourself and you will not touch the money, you can do it yourself. But if you doubt your intentions that you are not able to do that, then you can consider an NPS scheme with the equity component high when you're younger, and you switch to a lesser equity component when you are there, because there are three parts in that, if I'm not mistaken. I have not subscribed to it. So there are three subtypes of NPS schemes.
Yeah, so NPS, I think that one little advantage is that the cost is less. So there you every year gain about a percentage. And as Rajesh said, it's a compulsory saving. Plus you get 50,000 rupees write-off from your income. So that's another 16,000 rupees a year that you are saving. As a senior citizen, the day I turned 60, I ran to my nationalized bank, and senior citizen saving scheme. These are FDs for every 5 years. They're good because they give you a fixed rate, and like Rajesh said, as a part of your fixed income profile, it should be there. We also have a Pradhan Mantri Pension Yojana, which gives you about 8% or 7.8 or 8.1, depending on the season, which is also good. And last financial budget, the finance minister increased the contribution from 15 lakhs to 30 lakhs. So those who are nearing 60, please start preparing to invest in the senior citizen scheme and the Pradhan Mantri Yojana, Pension Yojana. RBI bonds is another fairly safe. As long as India is there, the bonds are there. Nothing will happen to that. And that also gives you the market linked rate, a little more than that.
And if you are a little more seasoned person, there is something called as a GSEC. GSECs are government securities which have a long expiry date. So it's like a fixed deposit by the government of India, like RBI, which you can buy when they announce it, but it has long maturity. So now, because the interest rates are going up and up, there was a GSEC 2036. So the 2036 said that it will give you 7.36 till 2036. So if you feel that, this is the highest we can go and I'm willing to put 10 lakhs or 50 lakhs or 10 CR, it depends what your portfolio is into it, then you can guarantee yourself 7.36% interest till 2036. So you will have like that a GSEC till 2027, till 2032, 2000. These are government securities, GSECs, which you buy from your trading account, from the bond part of it, which is the sovereign. It's like an RBI bond. It's the government's backed. So if you have a long-term view of it, and God forbid there's an emergency, you can sell it. But of course, you will then lose the advantage of that 7.3%. You will get, you will be penalized for that because you are selling it before the cutoff date. So these are safe government securities.
Excellent. We got a brief idea of what to do next. Moving on to the next question, it is for Dr. Rajesh. How do we select insurance and types of insurance that we need to understand?
There are many types. The only one you need to remember is the term plan. Nothing else. All the others, the endowment, money back, everything is for the agent, not for you. There is literally no LIC or any policy, insurance policy, which gives you more than a 6-7% return. All the ULIP 1, 2, 3, they are just mumble jumble. You can do this, you can do that. Do not get swayed by it. What you want is like your car insurance. You don't ask for profit from your car insurance when you take, at the end of 1 year, you give car insurance again. And never take a single. They'll say, sir, pay 6 lakhs for next 15 years. You don't have to pay. You don't do that for your car. If you don't do it for your car, why are you doing it for your life? So you pay the insurance for that year and you take it. I don't know. Some people say it should be, the term insurance should be 10 times the value of your current earning. Sometimes I feel that's a lot. But even if you have it 5 times your current earning, I think that's a substantial amount that you can insure yourself. So just say, I want a term plan, and half the agents will leave your door. They will stop calling. They will not send you the form. their senior will come with, sir, this is better than a term plan. You just try getting a term plan and you will realize how difficult it is to get because they earn nothing from it.
Okay, so I just want to add one thing. If we rewind the insurance question, who needs an insurance? Someone who's 65, 70, they don't need a life insurance. Their life is made. Someone is 21, 18, 10, they don't have dependents. So only a person who has dependents and is worried about what will happen in case something happens to him or her needs an insurance. So let's be clear. And the amount could be 5 times your annual thing or 10 times or whatever it is. But yeah, you need a term insurance and it should cover you till about 65 or so. That's good enough. I mean, nowadays you get plans till 99 and 100 and things like that. They really don't go into those
It's
things.
of no use. And child plans are an absolute no-no.
Yeah.
Absolute no. Why are you insuring your child? Your child is not your earning member.
Yeah.
You're insuring them against what?
The other thing is, suppose you decide that I need an insurance for 4 crores or 2 crores or whatever it is. Don't take one lump sum. You can even do it online. Like Rajesh said, no agent is interested. You can do it online also. But what I look at it is, instead of one big insurance, I would take maybe 2 or 3 insurances to get that big amount. The advantage of this is, when I'm 50, I can drop one insurance. I said, no, I don't want for 5 lakh crores. I'm happy with 3. When I'm 60, I can drop the second one. There's no penalty for not paying. Your insurance lapses. And when you are 65 or 70 or whatever you have done, you can stop paying the third thing and you are home fair and square, dry, safe. And then after that, what happens? By that time, your corpus is already there. The other important thing about insurance is health insurance. There was a study which showed that not the population, about 10 to 12% of doctors have health insurance. I mean, why so? When I look at my projected expenses, health is my primary concern, not traveling abroad or eating in a 5-star. My concern is health insurance. So all of us should have a good amount of health insurance. And remember, the amount of health insurance is not really decided by what you're likely to get, but you get 1% room rent on the insurance. So if your hospital has a single room for, say, 10,000, and you have an insurance for 3 lakhs because you're going to get a cataract done, you will still get only a 3,000 rupee room. That means bed, which may not even get you at Hinduja Hospital, a general ward. So please keep that in mind while you're deciding the insurance. Not that what is the likely cost of a hernia or a hysterectomy or a gallbladder. So that is very important. And the second thing is, there is something called top up. You've taken a health insurance for, say, 10 lakhs. But today, God forbid, if someone falls ill and goes to a corporate hospital, 10 lakhs gets over in maybe 3-5 days. So the chances that will happen is very small. It's statistically a very small thing. So what these insurance people do is they give you a top-up option. Okay, I want a 10 lakh primary insurance, but from 10 lakh 1 rupee to 25 lakhs, they give me a top-up which will cost me maybe a third of the 10 lakhs. So you have a cover of 25, 30, 40 lakhs, but at a much lower premium. Because the chances, see, this works on statistics. Insurance is only on statistics. That you would need a big lump is much smaller than the fact that you may need a 3, 4, 5 lakh rupee. So keep this also in mind while you're deciding this. And you can keep increasing your health insurance as time passes. You have a good record. Most insurance companies allow you a 20% increment every year.
That's really enlightening.
And other thing, Rajesh, you want to talk about disability insurance, because surgeons are the ones who really need to be careful about that.
So you go ahead, because I'm not really
okay. So I remember I started practice and I used to sit in a dentist's office. I mean, he had a polyclinic, and one day he was in a car accident, and he came with his shoulder elbow plastered. Now an endocrinologist with an elbow plastered can still sit in his clinic and request someone to sign the prescription. But a dentist or an ophthalmologist or a surgeon can't work with a hand plastered. So there is something called disability insurance, which is a decent policy that all of us should take, depending upon what sort of fee amount you would like so they give you every day for the next 2-3 months that you are injured or out of duty. So that's something worth looking at also.
Interesting. That's really interesting. The disability insurance, I was not aware of.
Yeah. So, this is something which we should look at.
Yeah.
So
the
health,
next question.
stability, and life, these come in that order.
Okay.
See, no one doubts about taking a car insurance. So why should we shy away of taking the other insurances?
True. So the next question is about making a will and why is it essential?
Well, so if you put a question to the audience, how many of them think that they're immortal? So the only thing which is certain in life, two things. One is taxes and the other is death. And there is no, very, very, very few fortunate people can predict their time of death. Otherwise it's suddenly out of the blue. And when you leave behind things which are not been listed, they are cluttered, your spouse or your children don't know anything about it, it's big trouble. And the worst thing is, if there isn't a will to cover it, we have provisions in law, but the children today don't have time to run around and get things in place. And especially if your children are abroad, don't keep anything for them. Just liquidate it, put it into a mutual fund where they can pick it up later on. So will is very important. It should be done yesterday, not tomorrow, but yesterday it should have been done. But now do it tomorrow for those who don't have a will. It's not rocket science. You can go online and look for it, and some 1,500, 2,000 rupees. You feel that is too much, talk to your CA. He'll help you. And if you don't want to do that also, just contact me. I'll send you a format. Sit with 2 witnesses and get it done. Type it out yourself, show it to your CA or lawyer, and get it registered, which is again not a big deal. Nowadays, a person from the registrar's office comes to your home or clinic, sits with you and does it for a nominal amount.
So at what age do you do a will? What if the assets grow after you have done a will?
No.
You can do the will every 3 months if you think you are so big.
No. Or the will can be very simple, Prajakta. It can just be that either if you're saying 100% of it goes to my spouse, if my spouse is not alive, then it gets equally divided among my children or to your brother. So you can just put percentage without specifying it. So what sir is saying is 2 aspects. One is to list your holdings if you want to make it more specific, because see, it's very difficult if you say a house is there and you say divide it between 2 children, there's a fight. So then you may want to say how much of it, so, but usually the simplest, most people will say, if you're not alive, let it go to the spouse. If your spouse is not alive, then divide it equally among children.
Yeah, that's a straightforward thing. When you're saying growing, now I say my saving account in this bank number so and so. I'm not saying that 20,000 or 20 lakhs. So my saving account is going to go to so and so. My demat account, again, whatever is in the demat account is immaterial. Your demat account will not change. No? The contents may change. So that's why it's not very difficult. Somewhere down the line, you buy another property or you buy land or some farmhouse. You can make a new will. By that time, you're an expert, so not a big deal.
Okay. This next question is for Dr. Rajesh. So, how do we educate ourselves and understand our finances before we take help from a planner? Would you suggest any resources or courses that we can avail of?
So I just read online. If you see, there are, ICICI Direct and Zerodha Varsity. it's like a knowledge base. It has a lot of simple modules. It has some 14 or 16 modules, and it has all your basics of finance, of mutual fund. What is a mutual fund? Explaining. So the first few sections are easier, then it keeps becoming even complex if you need more information. So you can decide what you want to do and basically read and talk and question. I think that's it. Always good idea at some point to take help, I believe. So I'll tell you, when I was trying to search for a financial advisor, the biggest problem is to find a financial advisor who's willing to give you advice based on a fixed fee. Most financial advisors will tell you, I will handle your portfolio, don't pay me. So we don't want that, because then he has a motive in it. Like he continues to get the 2% for 20 years. So you say, I don't want that. I used to say, you say your fee. Whatever your fee I'm willing to pay, you give me financial advice. And that you'll find very, very difficult again to find, because most people are not willing to do that. While in the West, that's a norm. Financial advisors will give you advice.
Exactly. So it should be for a fee, like we do. We give advice for a fee. It's not that we are going to put a cost on your life and keep taking a percentage for the rest of your life.
So you find someone like that, and it's like finding a good doctor or a good lawyer. You know, you have some slip ups, and then you find somebody whom you have a good rapport, whom you can discuss your portfolio freely. And I think that keeps you going.
Yeah. So I think after today's program, the whole lot of us who are around here should know that you can't be taken for a ride. See, I don't think we are trying to suggest that you all have become expert. We are also like GPs in this whole thing. So GP is okay for 70-80% things. You want to fine tune, you want an expert, please, find a good expert who will guide you and not take you for a ride.
So that was really enlightening. I think we've really learned a lot. I mean, our basics are now clear. I think earlier there was basic merada. So I think now we are more enlightened. So we have some time for questions before we wind up this session. And if and Prajakta could just summarize the do's and don'ts. We have any questions in the chat box?
So yeah, either they've understood everything or they're not understood anything. Yeah, but this is not rocket science. I mean, this is very simple. If you
Actually, most of the questions are answered, Kanchan, because I think somebody asked, can we stop endowment insurance? So
not really, because if you stop, you're going to lose money now.
national pension scheme we have answered, I think. And somebody has asked, what is the take on debt funds?
Which funds?
Debt funds. Debt mutual fund. What is the take on debt mutual fund?
So I think you're muted.
So you're muted?
Yeah, the host keeps muting me. No, so what was happening till now, till 31st March 2023, was that debt funds had the option of indexing after 3 years. What that means is that as based on inflation, like you do with property, even debt funds were indexed. And then you paid a capital gain of 20% or a tax of 20%. From this year onwards, now debt fund actually behaves like a fixed deposit. Maybe a little better, but just a little better. So this is a big controversy now, whether we should really go into debt funds. I think for the younger generation, 35 to 50, 55, better than debt fund would be a flexi sort of fund or a balanced fund, where the manager has the flexibility of moving between equity, large cap, mid cap, debt fund, depending upon the allocation required. As Rajesh said, we need to keep adjusting it once a year or twice a year. These guys do it regularly. And so that's a safer. See, remember one thing, there is nothing like 100% safe investment, because even your fixed deposit, if something happens to the country, it only up to 5 lakhs is insured. The rest the government can take away for its emergency use. Remember that. What you have in your saving account also can be taken away, theoretically. Hopefully, we'll never see that day, but it can happen. So keep that in mind. So debt funds, short-term debt funds, liquid funds, if we are looking at between 0 to 2 years, along with FDs are good options. FDs are, difficult to break it because then you lose. Whereas debt funds, liquid funds, you can, tomorrow morning, you can get it out. So that is the advantage. In terms of returns, they may nearly be matching. So if you're confident you don't need it for 2 years or 5 years, or like Rajesh was saying, long-term bonds, long-term, I mean, I'm looking at these good banks FDs. As a senior citizen, I'm getting 7.75, 8%. And I'm locking it for 10 years because I know this good thing of sort of interest that you're seeing is not going to last forever. Another few months and it'll start going down.
Somebody's asked about blue chip stocks. Is it a good advice to do periodic investment in blue chip stocks?
Means unless you understand it, I personally never invest in an individual stock. Most of the best companies are there in your Nifty ETF. So the top companies are always there in your ETF, and you just buy the Nifty ETF and you're sorted. Unless you understand stocks and you're willing to take the risk, that's a question. So, when people always ask this, I'm always asking them that if you are worth 100 rupees, how much are you willing to take the risk? Means, see, everybody who talks about I bought this share, I bought that share is talking basically of less than 5% of their net worth. So if you lose 5% of your net worth, you're not on the street. So when we are talking here, we are talking about you're worth 100 rupees. So you as a person is worth 100 rupees, and what decision will I take with my 100 rupees? Because if I make a mistake here, I'm truly on the street. So I can, like Sir said, you don't want to lose that capital part of yours when you're 60 or 65, because that will be you may not get interest is okay, but you don't want to lose that capital. So that's the thing. So if you have that adrenal surge, you want to discuss with all your colleagues about this, you can decide whether 1% or 5% you invest in blue chip and try your luck, or read about it. Better to take, there is this classes by WealthCon. WealthCon is one of our doctor radiologists who's running it. He gives very sensible tips on how to select which stock, what you can learn from that and then take your decision making. But that's always for the smaller part of it, not for your 100 rupees.
Yeah. So we're back to that original square one, that look at your risk appetite, divide your baskets, and yeah, you want to get that adrenaline surge, as he said, 3-5%, please play with it.
There was a question on fluid liquid. What was that?
Sure.
Liquid funds.
Liquid funds. Yeah.
Liquid funds is same as what Dr. Chadha said. Liquid funds are debt funds, a type of debt funds, but they are shorter term, so they are not very volatile.
Yeah. So again, they are safer than the longer term funds.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that liquid funds can't give you a dhoka.
Yes.
You lose in liquid funds also.
So these are all debt funds: liquid funds, short-term debt, long-term debt, your GSECs, PPF. These are all called as debt. Whether it's your senior citizen saving, FDs, these are all called debt funds.
Do we have any more questions?
I think I saw something. Yeah, someone had put in at 60 how to invest. So I think this is the whole discussion that has been going on from 35 to 60. So by the time you're 60, I think the summary of Prajakta wants to go ahead and give the summary. But just to say that maybe 50-60% in the equity funds, 35-40% in the debt or fixed income funds, and a small investment, like we said. So even gold is counted as a part of debt fund because it's generally not very volatile and it's pretty safe. But you can have downs in gold also, because see, sitting in India, we get a different impression because we are paying for gold appreciation and dollar appreciation. But if you look at the market, the US market or the foreign market, gold doesn't jump up and down the way it jumps here.
I think Prajakta, you go ahead because
Okay.
it's already 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit haphazard, but I'll try and. So do's. So plan for short-term goals. Medium short-term is less than 2, medium 2 to 5, long-term is more than 5 to 7 years. Make different baskets for different goals. Goals have to be divided into negotiable and non-negotiable. The rule of 50-30-20, as in 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% savings. The corpus gets divided in this proportion. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I want to interrupt you at this. Most people say income plus expenses is equal to savings, or we like to use the word investments, but it should be income minus investment is equal to expenses. So the investment is the beginning of the month, not the end of the month.
Right. So going ahead, retirement planning calculator is safe, fairly good. It doesn't ask detailed expenses. How do you calculate today's expense? I think somebody needs to talk about this. I may say it wrong. So corpus is budget into 30 times is how you calculate the corpus for retirement.
Plus the inflation. Yeah.
Plus the inflation. Yes. Okay.
So when you say 30 times, probably you're taking into inflation into consideration, because 30 times is too much. So 20 is a safer number, but you need to readjust that over time. I hope inflation
The
goes down.
software will do it for you. It's very easy. Don't worry.
Okay. So in short-term investments, we have low-risk FDs, liquid funds. In mid-term, we have balanced and debt funds, and in long-term, mutual funds. So our equity investment goes down as you age. So the rule can be 100 minus age or 120 minus age. Then about mutual funds, it has to be direct investment. Do not go through agents. Exchange traded funds are recommended. Then the other one in gold, sovereign gold bonds and gold ETFs are good. Gold as an investment is low. Gold mutual funds are also not recommended because they go through an agent. It's important to look at your asset allocation once or twice a year. For emergency corpus, it has to be 6 months, 6 months expenses, or sometimes 1 year's
12
expenses,
months. Yeah.
and you keep it as a liquid fund. Then other recommended investments are PPF. Exchange traded funds are definitely better than mutual funds in the long term, always. The senior citizen schemes, that is for it is senior citizen pension scheme or the Pradhan Mantri Yojana scheme. RBI bonds are safe. GSECs, that is government security, is safe. Other do's are definitely you should have a term plan like your car insurance. Do not invest into ULIPs and LIC, as in not recommended. A person who has dependents needs an insurance, so it has to be the earning people who have dependents. Take 2 or 3 insurances rather than one big. So as you age, you can keep dropping them and let them go. Health insurance, very important. Think about top-up insurance because it gives you a wide insurance with a 1/3 of the cost that is required. Disability insurance is recommended. Making a will is very important at any age. It can be done online. Speak to your CA. It can be done. Then for resources, you can go to Zerodha, or you can also attend WealthCon kind of forums and take information. Always go for a financial planner or advisor who with a fee and not with a percentage. Uh, and then some don'ts. Real estate returns are not good. Investing in mutual funds through agents, I have said that. National pension scheme is good, but it allows in equity as you age. So you need to be aware of that and uh, invest. That's it really. I think I have covered.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was really well summarized.
I'm happy to
So
share
I
my
really,
notes.
so I would really like to thank Sir Dr. Rajesh Senani and Dr. Chadda sir for giving your valuable inputs and really enlightening us. And thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone. So nice to be here.
Yeah, and if you want to plan for retirement, don't wait. Start right away.
True. We'll do that, sir.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thoroughly
Good night.
enjoyable.